Super, Supreet. It's really good to have you here, to be here with you on a call. Supreet is the co-founder of OneRare, a food metaverse, a company that is soon going to launch their very first two games, and they are insanely active on socials, whether that's Twitter, whether that's Discord. You see a lot of partnerships being established on a continuous basis. No matter whether we are in a bull market, bear market, you guys just don't care. You just seem to be just moving along, regardless, and just expanding your own bubble, your own metaverse that you guys are in. Supreet, what I wanted to really start this call off from is learning a little bit about yourself, like what happened that you got interested in this whole crypto space, blockchain space, and when has your journey begun?
Firstly, thank you so much for having me. That was a very kind introduction to OneRare. And talking a bit about me personally, so my co-founder at OneRare is Gaurav, who's also my husband. And he started his blockchain journey actually before me in 2017. When he comes from an engineering and marketing background, and he became the head for the Dash developer program. Which at that time Dash was, peaking. And so it was really good exposure and like a good insight into the blockchain industry for both of us. And then gradually I started working on some projects as well. But I come from a design background. I actually have a degree in design. And so for me, a large part of the blockchain, with its technical angles was not, I would not say that I was 100% comfortable with it or figuring out my own niche here. But at the beginning of Jan 2021, when NFTs started buzzing, the first of the CryptoPunk craze started. At that moment, I felt like there is a turning point in the industry where creative people can now enter the industry. Apart from all the DeFi and, all the tech talks and exchanges, there is now a market for people to be creative and, kind of bring that entire interesting angle to the blockchain technology as well. So that's how we kind of started building OneRare as a very small NFT project that I thought that I would do as an art project around the simple concept of food, because I think food is a very easy theme for people to relate with. Anywhere they are in the world, you would see a dish that your mom makes, you see a dish that you have probably made in the pandemic, and you can kind of figure those things out. So we started OneRare as honestly just that, collect the ingredients and make your own dish NFT. And since then, it's been quite a ride. Every month is like a year's worth in the blockchain space. And so the idea has just kept growing. And coming to the partnerships point, that's what it's been, because we're the first food project. We don't really see anybody as competition. We're happy to bring food to any project across the space. So it's been going good.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't see too many other projects. I don't know if I've actually seen any that have decided to just focus on this specific niche.
Yeah.
If you could actually elaborate a little bit more on that, because you've mentioned that your vision, your plans for the project, your objectives have expanded significantly. So what was that initial goal for you guys behind creating this project? And like where did you think back then that you're going to be a year from then or 2 years from then? And what is it now? Because for sure, if we're going to look back a year later, a year from now, that vision probably will change and evolve again.
Yes, I think it will actually, because when we started, we started calling ourselves a Foodverse, or the first Food Metaverse, back in July, August, when we started, creating our deck and pitching to investors. That kind of sat well with what we were trying to represent, and then Metaverse came along, of course, with Facebook coming in and taking in Meta, and, everybody started doing that as well. But for us, when we started, my core principle, so I also teach design, and that's why I kind of chose the theme of food, because I think food it's kind of like, you have those maths books, right, with apples and oranges for difficult maths equations. Food means that to me. I think it's an easy theme that gets along with people. And we started with that. When we started building it, we started thinking about the utility of NFTs, which is something that I think will be so much more important in this year, more than what it was in 21. And that's how we kind of came up with the idea of mini games and, bringing in chefs, for example, because we thought that, oh, here is an opportunity not just to have something isolated in Web3, but to bring a real industry onto the blockchain, give them an introduction with NFTs. And then we started thinking more about utilities, which became about how you can bring an NFT to the real world by swapping it for a meal as well. So over the course of time, I think there's been an idea a month that is kind of just added onto the project, and then just allowed us to, grow it. And like I said, because we're the first Foodverse, we're the first food-based metaverse, there has just been an immense scope, in adding to our ideas and being associated with action against hunger, for example. We've just had that scope to grow because it's a beautiful theme, it's a unifying theme, and it just allows an entire industry to come to the blockchain. So the potential there just grows because of that itself. It's not just a small game for gamers, it's a world for everyone.
That's true, and it is a really noble idea when you can connect your business, your project directly with those various charitable causes, those big global problems that so many companies have been trying to resolve for decades. Like I'm familiar with a few projects that focus on environment, for example, and they plant trees. It's about cleaning, removing rubbish from seas, oceans, and oceans. And yeah, these are really, really good. And I see them attracting people and building communities around them a lot easier.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about, because as you know, as we both know, you are connected with several sous chefs, Michelin star chefs, and various celebrities of this sort around the world. Like, how did that journey begin for you? Like, how hard was it for you to connect with that very first one, comparing to the people that are reaching out to you themselves right now? Yes. Because of just your reach and what you guys been able to do?
It's actually been a very interesting journey because, like you rightly said, we've now at a point where a lot of people do reach out to us because, we're coming in the news, and like I said, the metaverse, the topic itself has kind of, given us more traction as well. But when we started the journey, to be very honest, from day one, it's been very positive, especially from the industry point of view, because right now nobody's talking to the chefs and restaurants. People are trying to approach a celebrity to just do an NFT drop, and then it's over in that one go. But I think we have a more consolidated idea about giving that NFT utility, and we're talking to an industry that hasn't been approached yet. They're reading it in the news. They know something's going on. And so it's been very, very positive. When we first started our, kind of reaching out to chefs, we just reached out to a couple of them because we were unsure as well as to how they would react to this. And it was so positive. And since then on, actually, we've been, lucky to be connected even by people around us, somebody who reads about it. Maybe the chef has not read it, but somebody else around them did and connected us. And so in that sense, it's been really interesting. And within chefs, there is a scale between they know everything about the blockchain and they know nothing about the blockchain. So we have all kinds, and some of them, they already have NFTs, they're investing in blockchain projects. And then there are some who don't really know much about this particular space. So with each one, it's a different kind of hand-holding, and it's very interesting. And hopefully within 22, we'll also have much, much larger participation from chefs from all across the world.
And this relationship that you have with them, how do you see this potentially evolving? Is it more of a one time, or you would want them to continue being involved? Would they be featured in your ecosystem, in some of the games that you're creating? How would that partnership work between you and them?
So essentially, at the core of crypto is decentralization, when we talk about blockchain. So when we work with any of our partners, we don't believe in exclusivity. We don't really go around saying that, oh, you're in our metaverse now, don't do anything else, don't explore, because it's a beautiful technology. And so some people, will have different ideas in food as well coming up. after us, So with us, what we like to do is that like I said, give utility to the NFT of these chefs. So as we celebrate their culinary journey, it shouldn't be a simple like one-time art drop. So all their particular NFTs would be a part of our mini games where people can kind of play with them and have access to these NFTs to improve their game, for example. Alongside with these chefs, we would also like to work on the concept where these NFTs can be taken to the real world and swapped for real meals. So let's say like you made, let's say a French fries, let's say we have McDonald's on board and you did their French fries. You should also have the option where you can take that French fry to a McDonald's near you and swap that for a real French fry meal. So something along those lines. And of course, as we go along, we would like to, expand our Foodverse, have virtual restaurants by these chefs, where chefs can use it for, calculating their table reservations, for example, booking out, taking part in charity auctions, doing special 3-course dinners, maybe in the virtual world, parallelly to the real world, having their restaurant, say, meals gifted to their loved ones who live in those local areas. So I think with each of the chefs, the idea is to just keep communicating, and as we keep building things to, know if they're interested in it, have them on board to, kind of discuss that further as well. And yeah, I think it's up to them till the point they find it interesting. We're more than happy to keep coming up with ideas to engage them.
You have really put a lot of thought, and I can just sense that you're living and breathing in this whole world. And this is the beauty of the things that we are doing right now. Like 5 years ago, 10 years ago, nobody would have thought that we could just make a living out of talking about games, metaverses, Second Life, like those type of concepts. It's just incredible what has happened, especially as you said. Irrespective of personal opinions that some people have about Facebook, it's because of them that we've seen this trend that went almost parabolic. We do have a bit of a correction right now, but nevertheless, metaverse, it's such a buzzword right now, and it's majority in a major part because of what they've done.
Yeah. I think because Facebook has that kind of access, it's not necessarily a bad thing in terms of, they have access where people started knowing the word better. The only issue is that nobody should ever accept that there can be only one vision of the metaverse, because people are still brainstorming, people are still coming up with ideas in ways, maybe some of it is 2D, maybe some of it is VR based. It could be a whole spectrum of things. So I think that experimentation is currently on with different kind of creators. Sandbox has a voxel world. Decentraland is using like those Unity, those Unity objects in a different way. So I think with each metaverse, something different is happening, and it should be different as well. Otherwise, you won't really be visiting the same city again and again.
This is an interesting point. This is a complete free flow. Had a different idea behind the structure of this call, but I'm enjoying it too much. So let's carry on like this. I was actually on Clubhouse the other day, and I participated in a conversation about metaverse and how we see this metaverse, where it's going to end up. And as you said, really nobody has any answers. Like, some people say that there is the metaverse, and then there are also metaverses. Like, there will be thousands of metaverses that will be their own bubbles, essentially. It's almost like groups on Facebook that they live. And then there will be this global one that would be allowing you to very quickly move and in a collaborative type of fashion, that you could have a friend who's calling you, all of a sudden two of you through a computer, VR headset, augmented reality, have this shop, clothing shop, food shop. There could be some type of a virtual spot. How do you see it yourself, this evolving over the upcoming years?
I think one part that people, everybody's talking, there are two aspects to it, actually 2 points I would like to say. The first is that blockchain and metaverse are not the same thing. There will be virtual metaverses that will exist off blockchain as well, which will exist in the current environment, kind of like Second Life as we have. So there will be metaverses. In fact, even Facebook has not yet come and announced that they're building a blockchain-based metaverse. They've said they're doing a metaverse, but at no point have they spoken about NFTs or, some kind of blockchain technology coming into it. So I think that is one important part that people are kind of missing on, where they think every metaverse is a blockchain metaverse, but it's not true. And the second thing, which I think people, are too busy building a one world on, and they don't want to admit it, but there is a language barrier to a metaverse as well. Tomorrow, let's say there is a very massive, for example, the Koreans and the Japanese, they love their technology, but they may not have the same English bandwidth, for example, or let's say the massive Spanish community that we have in LATAM and Spain, they don't feel the need to now learn English because they want to get onto the metaverse, right? So when there are communities that are kind of immersed in a particular language or a culture, there will be a metaverse that will target that audience specifically. And then there will be people who will be more comfortable going there rather than coming to a generic metaverse. So I think, yes, with time, there certainly will be one or two really big players or maybe 10 really big players. But there is scope for a lot of small metaverses that would be specialized. For example, on a theme like us, we're doing food specifically and talking about the F&B. There could be something around sports where you could, enter a world and it's all kinds of sports happen there. Or they would be based on language and region, because that is a consideration. Whether we like it or not, it does affect some people as to, what language they're more comfortable in. So if you're kind of activating, VR and you're letting people talk to each other, they do need to have the same language.
That's very true. And it makes me wonder, like, over the next 2 or 3 years, how that is going to be progressing. Maybe we would be speaking in our native languages, but the other person on the other side would receive that would be translated on a file.
Yeah,
that'll be
exactly.
very interesting.
And that would happen as well, definitely. English is growing more and more popular, and it is a language that does connect all of us right now. And
the language of blockchain, really, right?
Yeah, there would be translator services for sure, but there are going to be a lot of metaverses. Like I really don't buy into the vision that one metaverse will win over all of them, because that is going to be one fixated idea. Everybody's right now, in fact, even talking about how they have an X parcels of land only, for example, which is then it's saying that, okay, the city has these limits. Which is why I said I find Facebook interesting, because they've not talked about the metaverse being about land or being on the blockchain. I think theirs will be more about bringing their current services to a VR standard where it becomes more immersive, whether it's Instagram or, all the apps that they have, adding to it. But in terms of the blockchain metaverses, let's say it's the sandbox, they have an X number of land. They do get full at some point of time. And there will be people left behind, because we're a population of billions over here. So somebody is going to build something that will then cater to an X country or an X portion of society. Or, it's the funny part is whenever you try to build a one world, somebody doesn't want to be there because it's too uncool to be there. So that's how Instagram got its traction, because people thought too much families on Facebook. So we got to start posting somewhere else. And that entire younger audience went to Instagram.
Yeah, that's very true. And do you think, like, talking about, because I didn't think about that before, because I, just like many, I assumed that it is going to be blockchain based. Do you think that the reason why Facebook may not go for a blockchain-based solution is because of this government scrutiny, regulations, and just the difficulty that they have? Because like with their project, with Libra, now DM, they came up with that idea, 3 years ago now, and everything has gone quiet.
Yeah. I think they also don't have, let's also be clear that right now there is a learning curve to owning a crypto wallet, for example. Not everybody has one. And here they have data from millions and millions of people across the globe with all their social details, their billing statements as well. If you've ever bought, an asset in a Farmville game, for example, or as a business owner, if you paid for an ad, they know how to bill you. So the need for them to come onto the blockchain right now, I feel, hasn't really turned up. Where it will turn up is in NFT ownership. And then we look at the fact that technology is developing so fast that maybe in another year, there is a much simpler way for NFT ownership to happen, if they want to introduce that then. But it's something that I feel like they haven't said it. People have just mixed up these two words of blockchain and metaverse. And now I actually know certain other metaverses as well. Like a colleague of mine is building Zippy, which is a runner's metaverse, which is again not on the blockchain. He's building a metaverse for runners where they can interact, and his entire technology doesn't need the blockchain as of now. So I think with NFTs, yes, the question of avatar ownership and all maybe comes into Facebook as well, and then they think about it. Or maybe they are building it and they've just forgot to mention it in that really long video that they spoke about. But yeah, I think they're currently building it more as a metaverse rather than, talking about Web3.
Because essentially, Roblox is the biggest. If we could attach it, as you said, we don't have to be necessarily connecting to. They don't come as a pair, as a couple. That metaverse does not mean exclusively that it has to be a blockchain-based solution.
Yeah.
Roblox essentially, it's about the community. You've got this, especially like you've got kids watching all those YouTubers right now who play all sorts of various games. They don't necessarily are loyal or sticking to a single one. This is a very good a very good point. That's and especially for established companies, I suppose that's the reason why we don't see that many traditional huge gaming companies trying to embrace or jump on this bandwagon. Is the regulations. This whole space is so new right now that we don't know how those land sales, how those mystery boxes, loot boxes are going to be treated, whether they're going to be treated as a utility, as a security. We see all this information coming out about Ethereum potentially not being considered a utility, and it just feels.
But I would say that with the larger gaming companies, actually, so as somebody who's building something, we approached a lot, by people who want to know more, who'll ask us for a call, just to get on to pick our brains on this. I think with the larger gaming companies, the regulation is one part of it, but where they're lacking is that these companies are usually planned forward. And so it's harder for a bigger company to pivot all of a sudden to suddenly set up a structure of, they don't really understand what it is to work with one or two blockchain developers. They want a team of 20, because they have a team of 200 game developers. So I think it's the lack of resources in technology that also holds back these games to a certain extent, because right now there is a paucity of good talent, whether you go for a smart contract dev or you want someone to be creating something. Yes, it is hard to find really good talent in the industry right now because it's so new, of course. But for larger companies, that does become a concern wherein somebody needs to take that decision. Somebody needs to be looking that far ahead to take that decision and then be supported by the talent to make that game as well.
That is another good point, that it felt for a short while, it felt like you had people coming onto your Telegram, Discord and offering you their services, but I haven't seen too many of those messages recently. There's a lot more companies, a lot more of them that are looking to tokenize, are looking to release their own NFTs. How has your concept with regards to those non-fungible tokens has been affected? Like, how has that evolved? Are you looking to also introduce land sales potentially, or it's still ingredients, dishes mostly that will be NFTs?
So we won't be doing a direct land sale because we are, specific to the F&B industry. So that is something that is in the works right now, where we will be looking to create virtual restaurants and, creating a virtual land, because that seems to be the best next step forward in increasing the engagement of a chef or a restaurant with their audience. So let's say, for example, one of our chefs wants to actually host a cooking class in the metaverse. So with things like those, of course, the question of where they do it comes into being, and the Foodverse sounds like the perfect place to do it. But we're still figuring out what it means in terms of a land sale, because we would like our Foodverse to be about the food, about chefs, about food-based entertainment, food-based gaming companies, for example, coming in and creating a food game for us. So that is something that we're kind of still, kind of pinpoint, like just doing the final details on that. But yeah, I think with every project, there is a difference in being a game and a metaverse. I think there is a lot more land sale going on right now than fits those particular projects. So I think people really just need to think about why they would have land in that space, or what would make them go back into the metaverse, because then it needs to be more than just a game. Probably needs to be like 5 games and other forms of engagement and things like that as well. Like Sandbox, I think, is a great example because there's a bit of gaming, there are a bit of brands, then there's Snoop Dogg's house. So I think they've done it quite beautifully, by being the land first and game second. So I think people need to just think about each metaverse. And I think it's like we had the DeFi summer, we had the NFT year. So this is the metaverse year, for better or for worse. And some good projects will come by, and I think there'll be a bit of sorting by the end of the year.
It is, there is a lot. It's essentially almost every single game they're looking to create their own metaverse, and I almost see those land sales as just another way for many of those companies to raise funds. But what many people don't think about or understand is that, like with Sandbox, these guys started back in 2018. It's taken them 4 years to create a usable product. So if somebody's buying into those land sales right now, they're likely to wait 2, 3, 4 years before they were able to make any use of them.
Somebody has like I said, because it's like different cities of the world, right? You'll go to Paris, you'll go to New York. If somebody has a set vision, I think it's a great thing to, believe in them and go with their story. But you have to check that. Just because it's a game, or, it's a PvP game, what value would their land hold is something that, the user should know about before, not the fault of the game, to be honest. They're pressurized to do these land sales sometimes more often than what people realize. But it's for the person buying that plot of land then can't go and then start pressurizing this, the founders for now doing something about the land.
It's always like, no matter how much work you're going to do with regards to the posts and messages, Medium blogs and all that kind of stuff, you're always going to get those random messages from your community members who just don't follow along with what's happening inside of your world. So now, because I'm very conscious of time, and I don't want this interview to be too long, otherwise nobody's going to watch it. But you have been very active with regards to the partnerships. It's almost like on a weekly basis, you've got sometimes several new partners that you announce. Like, what type of strategy do you have when you select? Like, do you receive requests? Or you do outreach and reach out to specific partners to do with either metaverses, whether that's gaming guilds, whether those are layer 2 scaling protocols? You guys are on Polygon, if I understand correctly.
Yes.
How do you make those choices as to which company to partner up with?
So firstly, I'll take that from the last end. So with regards to Polygon, when we started building, we actually got a grant from Polygon to build as well. And because of the low cost of minting NFTs, we thought it would be a much more seamless experience for our gamers and users of the Foodverse. So that's how we kind of came on to Polygon. And, we got in touch with the team and we got good support from them. With regards to our other partners, sometimes they reach out to us. Sometimes we see something interesting. Our social team, identifies a project that we can work with. And a lot of time, actually, common investors who've invested in both the projects tend to connect us. We, like I said at the beginning, we are the first food project. So what that brings is a very interesting angle to, all the other projects, because nobody's really thinking about food. They have all these other aspects that, maybe like, for example, with Bit Hotel, they have a bar and then they have these beautiful rooms where you can go socially interact, but they don't have a food angle yet. So with them, that's how we came on board, where we said, okay, we'll come in, we're going to do food at your restaurant bar, we'll give you special NFTs and things. So with all these games, whether it's Playermon, Kitsumon, we have a bunch of other coming as well. It's about more the merrier, because we're the food people. If you're a metaverse, we'll come and do a pop-up restaurant. If you're a game, we'll give you energy boosting foods, for example. And so I think our only core belief is that the partnership should feel natural. It should not be forced. So we don't ever partner with technology we're not going to use or don't have, currently figured out. We're very careful with our tech partners. So we have Chainlink on board. In terms of our chains, we have Engine, Polygon, and KCC, which is the Qcoin community chain on board. So with regards to tech, we definitely do evaluate as to how we can partner with them, wherein it should show that we have integrated their particular technology into the product. And then, of course, with other games, we become their food partner. If it's a guild or a community building platform like Gamers, which we just announced yesterday, then it's all about cross promotions and helping our community grow.
Yeah, I've seen this about Gameverse, but actually you've just mentioned Chainlink as well.
Yeah.
So how would oracles come into play and integrate into your ecosystems? Where do you see their role
Chainlink,
potentially?
we're using the VRF function for our game, for our staking as well, and for the Hippopol game. So we're actually using their VRF function.
Okay, super. Let's very quickly talk about your roadmap. Honestly, I'm seeing just various comments from YouTubers and actually gaming companies where some are almost refusing to talk about the roadmap, because in this world that we live in, if somebody's planning 2 years ahead or 5 years ahead, it almost indicates that they actually don't know this space at all, that they don't understand how quickly things evolve and change. Like, what are those things that you've got firmly still on your roadmap, and are you on schedule right now with some of those releases?
Yeah, so we are on schedule. I think we're just about a week delayed because we've actually gone into a second audit with Certic right now to be more sure. So earlier we had planned to bring out our game with one audit, and we completed that with TechRate. But we just felt like it would be best for the community and just the overall security of the game to have two audit partners. So we are now in audit with Certic right now. So just a bit, I would say we're probably off by a week or two. But that is just with regards to the mainnet version 1.0. With regards to our community marketing and going out for more collaborations, we are currently doing that. Everything that we had for Q4, whether it was the IDO, whether it was like I said, the mainnet audits did happen in Q4 21, but we have added another audit partner in Certic. So that is the only thing I think that I can read that has spilled over. So I think pretty much everything else we're good to go. In fact, you're showing me this has reminded me that it's time to add Q2 22 as well now to this for sure. And I think for us, like you very rightly said, this industry, the demands are intense, and the need to see progress, not just for the team but also for the community, for other people watching us. Everybody wants to know what's next. So we, instead of looking at large chunks of quarter, actually look at our work on a monthly basis, where we look about what do we need to do this month, what is the next thing that we need to push out, what is the growth we want to show. Whether it's starting to reach out to restaurants and bigger chains now, we're adding ingredient partners as well. There's a lot of news we hold on to as well. We're saving that for the mainnet launch. So I think overall for us, we look at it on a monthly basis. That's why we kind of, I would love to say that I am building the world's first VR-based Foodverse. But I'm not going to come and say it till we are much, much closer to getting there, because I don't want that question for the next 2 years.
Yes, and they will be coming. So what about your products essentially that would be those first ones where customers can actually engage or interact with them? Like, what would you, because typically when we see gaming companies starting to create and release products, features, functionalities, what they typically do is they organize some type of a land sale, NFT sale, then they launch the NFT marketplaces, and only then at some point you start seeing games coming out. Like, how does that differ? Or is that similar journey to what you guys are planning to do?
So we're not going to do any sale upfront for our NFTs. So all the ingredient NFTs can actually, they're part of a staking pool where you can stake OneRare token and they just come as rewards. There is no charge of, there's no aim to, have, a revenue exercise here. So you can simply stake your OneRare token. You can start earning ingredients with your staking. And then you can use that to mint the dish NFT. So in that particular step, there is no need for you to actually be spending any money per se. We have a very simple staking feature. Of course, if you're not winning your correct ingredients, let's say that you wanted to make a pizza and you ended up with spaghetti, for example. So you can always go and sell that spaghetti at a farmer's market or trade it with another farmer, get the ingredients you want for your particular dish. Or, kind of go freeway where you have collected certain ingredients and you see what recipe works out for that. So for us, our launch and the mainnet game, which should be out within like early February, I would say, would not revolve around some massive ingredient sale or anything like that.
So would that be actually? I've got two questions. Let's go to the first one actually. So, is the staking already live?
No. So the staking will come live as well. That is the contract in audit right now. So we wanted to make sure that it is a completely secure contract because I think games have a lot to lose when the contracts.
For sure, security is everything. And honestly, when I'm seeing a side note, but when I'm sometimes receiving links, especially Discord is crazy. Like if you start participating in IDOs, some type of pre-mint campaigns, then these companies are asking you to join their Discord channels for the extra credits. Then you end up with a list of 100 and you're getting 50 messages from random strangers, unless you know how to turn off DM. Anyway, it's crazy. You're getting all those links and these random websites that you know nothing about are asking you to connect your MetaMask account. So in this crazy world that we live in, and I'm sure that there's going to be somebody at some point will figure out this will add one additional step to this personal assets versus connecting your wallet to that website. It just feels like something's missing, but it's just so easy right now. So I fully understand, and I'm sure that the community also understands that it's better to be safe than sorry, especially when it comes to if you don't have a burner wallet.
Staking. We have a staking tomorrow starting on QuickSwap. But for within the game, we are still in audit, and we would rather have our audits in place before we organize a staking program in house.
And do you have these numbers? Like if you have 1,000 OneRare tokens, then that should generate 1 NFT per day, per week. Like, do you have these sort of stats?
No. So right now what we have is 6 pools, and those pools are going to be based on the theme of ingredients. So there's going to be a Sunshine Dairy pool, which is all dairy ingredients. We have the Good Grain pool, which is going to have all grain-based ingredients. So we'll have these 6 pools, and you go stake there, and then depending on the number of stakers, we're kind of just setting those into the contracts. Like we have an auto function for that. Accordingly, the number of ingredients would be dispersed.
Wow. So we are in today's the 18th. So a lot of things are essentially just around the corner. You're just 2 weeks away from the engagement to hopefully just picking up. Substantially. So this is why I wanted to connect, because people don't understand. It's in this space, it's too much about the investment and quick flip. And many people are missing this incredible opportunity to be able to connect with people like you, because simply there's not that much engagement. Those Telegram groups, those Discord channels, that are a lot more quiet because people are just not as excited about the price movement. But at this stage, it's not about the price. It's about the development. It's about that continuous progress that companies are making. And you guys are clearly there because, again, your Twitter, your social channels are very, very active. And that's a very strong indication because the bull market will resume at some point very soon.
Yeah. And the thing is that, it's for a lot of people, last year was the first time that they entered the crypto market. So it was their first investment and it was a brilliant bull run that happened. So there is also a large community, which is of course very sweet and excited, but they've just had every project 100x on them, and so then that kind of expectation is also hard on projects that are still building, and which is mostly everyone who is building right now and continues to build. Actually, they could sit back and say, okay, we're done, but they're still trying new things out. There's actually land now, and I'm sure in fact, they were talking about version 2 coming, about the Axis. I wasn't updated on that when it's coming out, but they've been talking about building better, building more. They'll have something for the land. So projects here, the ones that want to make something, really are making it because they want their project to work. It's not about the token sliding up and down, something that founders, in fact, most founders are encouraged to not look at their token morning and night because that would cause entirely different problems for them. I think for a lot of first timers, their first bull market, becomes very devastating when the bear starts coming. So I think people are just kind of reassessing, where their portfolio stands. And in the end, they will then learn to invest in projects that they believe in rather than that hype that you just said, about Discord groups and links to pre-mint and things like that. Because not every NFT from 2021 will hold value, going forward. The number of NFTs that we have, minted, if you look at OpenSea right now, or, Twitter has like artists coming every day who do that typical 10,000 drop, not every NFT is going to make it. And that's kind of the natural sorting that is bound to happen.
Sure. There is a mixture that we see. We're starting to see projects that have been in the works for like 6 months, 12 months, where you clearly see the quality and you see that these guys are thinking long term. And at the same time, you also see those kind of scribbles and doodles, and you're thinking like, how in the world? Like, why'd you even bother?
Yeah, so it's a very simple example. Like we had the Sunflower game on Polygon that brought the Polygon network down a week or two ago, right? Which was a simple Unity game. It's a 2D Unity game that was used with Unity assets itself. And then on the other hand, you have a Star Atlas, which is building on Unreal and is building, they certainly need so much more time to build what they are, that vision. And if they're actually going to have, the game, the way the trailer looks, that's insane. That is a lot of development. And, asking that team to deliver in a month, it's unreal. If people are building good things, they need that amount of time.
And the last question, I completely agree. Before we need to come down from that high horse and just think a bit more rationally. And before anything that included the word game or metaverse, but people would just buy into. But then, we now see the reality, and it's really about the quality more and more. But what about the structure of your team? Because I haven't asked that question before. Where were you before, like 6 months ago, with regards to the team members, the number of developers that you had, and now?
So when we started, essentially, honestly, it was just Gaurav and me, and we actually started our project with just having one freelance developer on board, because we were still figuring out things and we didn't know how to pay someone's salary at that point, to be honest, because we were like, okay, let's build the next thing. And now at this point of time, actually, it's again a great question, because I knew we were on a count of 18 last I remembered. In the past months, we have added so many more people to the team in terms of, having a very structured 3D team now. Adding, so we've had a lot of graphic artists and everything with us from before, but now we've added a full 3D in-house team as well. In terms of developers, like instead of one smart contract, we now have, I think, 3. So I think in every aspect, we have grown, even with the social media team. I think, like you rightly said, they're doing a tremendous job in helping us. We have somebody for partnerships on board as well. So I think from that little bit of an idea, which needed only 2 people, to be honest, had we been building OneRare as it was on day one, we might already be live. I would be live as a food artist, maybe, to where we are today. It's certainly, a much bigger team, because it's a much bigger vision now.
Super. Now, I'm really, really happy to hear, and I'm sure that the listeners, whoever's watching this, would hopefully they understand your ecosystem and what you're heading, and you really have developed a deep knowledge with regards to not just your own ecosystem and what you're trying to do, looking to do, but also the entire space as a whole. So thank you very much, Supreet, for this interview. I'm really happy that I'm part of this, and I've actually got your tokens early on, and we've talked previously so many times, and I'm really looking forward to what you're going to do very, very soon, and to the February releases especially.
Thank you so much for having me on. It was absolutely lovely talking to you.